Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Solid Ground and welcome back to Solid Ground to a number of our viewers. I can see the comments coming in already. Look, this is a live show coming to you live here from Auckland in New Zealand, talking the cultural, the political, the social issues of the day which have caught my eye and which I provide some thought and commentary around, and often where we can here at Family First to alert you to happenings and events which you may not be hearing through the mainstream media. As I say, it's live, so if you've got any thoughts, questions or comments, jump onto Family First's Facebook page or its YouTube channel, and your comments will come live to me here in studio. Always love questions, always love comments, and great to have you all along. I will admit, before I get to any of the comments coming through, and I see a whole lot at the moment, I am feeling absolutely shattered. I've been up since 4 this morning, of all things, speaking to the House of Lords in London. So yes, you heard that right. I've been speaking to the House of Lords in London because they're doing an inquiry into euthanasia. And so, well, zoomed in, if that's the right phrase. As I say, I'm feeling quite jaded and tired now. I know it's only been 3 and a bit hours since getting up, but it was a bit hard. But interesting to do. Nevertheless, to try and explain to the Lords there what's happening in New Zealand, and obviously the expansion which is coming. So I'll come back to that in a moment, but it also explains why I'm dressed somewhat formally, not as formal as earlier. It was full suit and tie, as one might expect. So, as I say, a little bit of a heads up that I might be a little bit slow or stumble across my words this morning, because I say I'm feeling quite shattered, because it turned out to be quite a long session. But as always, good morning to all our wonderful people and supporters. We've got Dean there and Catherine, we've got Lynette there and Taupo. Lovely to have you along. Michael, good morning. Jackie, lovely to have you along. Nigel there as well, good morning. We've got Murray. It sounds like a northwesterly wind is back. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Robin, good morning to you. Lynette, lovely to have you along there in Akaroa. Our food dogs trucking. I still love that one. Ian there as well. Darren, thank you very much. He's referencing an interview I did with Helen Joyce. She's the Irish journalist, used to be actually the editor of The Economist, and so she's very gender critical. She believes that, biological women are women and biological men are men, had radical thoughts like that, but it's made her supposedly controversial. So I sat down on RCR and interviewed her. To Dee Dee, good morning, and we got Chris there as well. Justine, good morning. So look, lovely to have all you guys here, and very good of Food Dogs Trucking to say they'll let me off this time if I'm all over the place. But just quickly on that, because I must admit it's been a while since I've engaged formally. I actually know a number of the Lords. I mean, gosh, there's hundreds of them, but there's a few that I know, and so engage on that front. But you may or may not know that the United Kingdom is looking at introducing euthanasia laws, and I'm not going to go into the details of the UK's proposals. They're very similar to New Zealand. But one of the things that certainly is coming across is they believe, if listening to the Lords this morning, is that what they've got is unique and exceptional, and that the concerns that have been raised by people like myself and others and experiences around the world will be different for them. So a big part of my contribution, there were 4 of us, 2 who oppose euthanasia. So it was myself and a professor of palliative care. She's a clinician on the front line. And then 2 academics who are pro-assisted suicide. And so we were, interrogated, questioned by the Lords. It was quite long because they kept being interrupted. So their house, the House of Lords, was sitting at the time, and so every so often the bells would go off and they'd have to leave their chairs and walk quite a distance, I'm told, to go down to their chamber and vote, what they call a division, and then come back. So, yes, it was many hours staring at a screen, often blank, but we had about an hour of discussion. Look, what was striking, and it applies as much here to New Zealand, as I say, my main thing to them was saying, look, it's not working as perfectly as it's made out. Would always stress, as I did on Q&A with Jack Tame a few months back, it's not that the New Zealand euthanasia law is completely imploding in itself or the wheels are falling off. In many ways, it's operating as it's intended. But there are problems. There are problems, the infamous case of the Asian New Zealander who was euthanized but doesn't speak any English, and no translation was given. We have research too of doctors being horrified at how people are gagging and choking and gasping as they take the lethal drugs that end their lives. So there's lots of there's horror stories, but one of them, the Lord's, that is to understand that it's not all roses, as the pro-death side would make out. But what was striking, I have to say, the witnesses from the pro-euthanasia side were exceptionally helpful to me, whether they realised it or not. As I say, my thrust to the Lord's was that it is inevitable, completely and totally inevitable, that their law will expand. Some on that committee seem to think that they'll be able to keep it tight and narrow. I stressed to them that's virtually impossible. And the evidence of that was what the pro-euthanasia advocates were saying, because they were arguing that New Zealand's safeguards are already too onerous, too difficult to navigate. Too difficult to navigate. As I say, safeguards are too onerous. They were also saying how families are always just delighted that their loved one has passed away. Of course, eliminating the sufferer to assist the suffering of the watching family members. That's been celebrated, ironically. And they were pointing out too, doctors should be able to talk about and promote assisted dying. They were strong to say, look, stigma is a bad thing. Euthanasia is now legal, and so there should be very few restrictions at all. And so for me, that was quite helpful to say, and if you will, to echo back their words to the committee to say, well, there you have it. The proponents themselves are saying that we need to expand, remove safeguards because they're too onerous. Stop there being stigma. People are not allowed to have an alternative opinion, in this case, on euthanasia. And so I finished with the Lords to tell them quite clearly how ironic it is in New Zealand, because there are proposals to change the law, that so much of the euthanasia argument is based on autonomy. It's my choice. If I want to die, I should be allowed to. But because in New Zealand so few doctors want to be part of it, the state now, the Crown, the government, wants to coerce doctors effectively to force them to be involved, and nurses, of course, and hospices in some ways. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting, nice. Well, not nice, it's always a bit difficult to wake at 4 a.m. and let's start talking about death. But it was good to actually engage with them. So, yeah, that was good. Helen is saying this is about, I put it, here we go, where's my screen? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this is the interview. So jump over to RCR, Reality Check Radio, if you want to hear my interview with Helen. I enjoyed it, and Liz, thank you. Just for people to know, you need to log into the RCR website. You just need to put in an email. It's pretty simple. I can tell you myself, granted, I'm part of the RCR community and team and one of their hosts. We don't spam you at all, but you do need to log in. You can also jump onto Spotify now and listen to the interviews. Obviously, you can't watch them. So we do it video and audio, but you can, as I say, go to the RCR website, or you can go to Spotify. So that was really cool, and Helen's amazing. She is just so articulate. So I highly, highly recommend that discussion there as well. Good morning to Rosie. I see the comments coming in here. I see Melanie is... All I can say, Melanie, I can see this. Hopefully that indicates at least your Facebook comments are coming into the studio here, I hope. Jackie's noting around the whole euthanasia stuff. It's a slippery slope. Yes, it is. In fact, I would argue it's a it's a cliff. So my key thing to the Lords, though, was, hey guys, don't think you're that exceptional. It just is what it is in every jurisdiction around the world. As I say, these other witnesses, the pro-death side, as I want to call them, just proved it themselves. Oh, we have safeguards, but we need to get rid of them because they're too onerous. Anyway, on some quick positive news, because you've got to be positive. Bob sent me this yesterday, and I hope you can read it. I can't, because it is so small on my screen, but I do know what it's about. It was on social media and being shared as if it's groundbreaking news. So this is good news. We know that kids who do dine with their family have better academic performance. In fact, there's a better all-round dynamic in play. So it's funny twofold for me. One, it's just affirming what we all already know, which is, where you can, I mean, sometimes it's not easy, but where you can, to sit around the dining table. We had 2 of the kids over last night, and that's a big part of it. Sit around the table, eat together, share a few jokes, talk and discuss. So good for a child's development. I mean, granted, our kids aren't kids anymore, but you know what I mean. It's good for their development, word acquisition, bonding as family. But as it's saying here, the research shows it's better academic performance. And again, that probably shouldn't surprise anyone. Oh, sorry, there we go. And Simply Green nails my second point, which is, it's blindly obvious. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Water is wet. It's great. It sums it up perfectly. So it's good it's being, discussed, but it is quite funny that people need to research what is blindly obvious. And Awake Not Woke is noting that coverage isn't so good in Takaka at the moment. Was it spraying us like flies? Oh dear, that is not good. Well, good to have you along. And Catherine's noted in her home, we eat tea at the table, and that's what we try. We try to. It's only Rachel and I now, but when the younger ones were here, it was sometimes a bit of a battle around the phones. But look, affirms what we already know. But it is funny we have to go through this sort of level of research. And then I saw this, and it's here we go. I don't know why I've cut it across my face, but you might remember I've been talking for a while. So I'm going to jump back to a comment because I think Murray makes me laugh on this one. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's the balance of the mum that helps, but yes, the kids don't always find my dad jokes all that intriguing, but I love the comment. This is some good news. This is New Zealand. You might recall I was talking a while back about the desire of government to tax charities, particularly churches. They wanted to tax churches, which long and short I pointed out, in my opinion, as with others, is a stupid thing to do, because churches and that their good work, their charitable work, is actually beneficial to society, and every dollar the government takes off them is a dollar that, well, firstly, government doesn't spend very well. Doesn't matter if they're the blue or red team. And secondly, that's a dollar that the charities don't have to spend on those in need. So this came out, I think, yesterday. The government has formally indicated they are no longer going to be looking at charities and new taxation. It is slightly nuanced. You'll see there that they will look at charities that are controlled by a single donor. And that, in some ways, makes sense to me. If you're, for example, a wealthy business person who is funneling a lot of your monies into a single charity, they do want to have a little bit of a closer look to make sure you are doing something charitable and not trying to game the system or to exert unexpected control. But most charities and all churches will no longer be targeted, which I personally think is a good thing. There is a few, as you would imagine, little... there's some integrity elements that the government's talking about, which of course will still impact churches and the like. But overall, this is a good move that the minister's signalling that the government will not be looking at the taxation of churches, which again, or charities, which I think is appropriate, totally appropriate. And Luke is just noting that they used to turn the TV off. Oh God, that takes me back. Holmes and the Golden Girls. Yeah, I just think, so much of what we know intuitively, what is good for kids, physical exercise, not being on their phones, sitting around the dining table, hopefully where we can, a loving mum and dad, all of that makes a phenomenal difference. And I do laugh when you have to have all these researchers tell us what we already know. In slightly less positive news, I just wanted to highlight what we already know, which is the increasing corruption of mainstream media. And this example, some of you may have already come across it. It's to do with the BBC. It's their latest faux pas, or as I say, I would put it in the corrupt level. I'll let you judge yourself. I'm going to play a little video, which I've taken from the Telegraph. So the Telegraph is another... it's actually strictly a newspaper, but they are the ones who have exposed the latest poor behaviour of the BBC. So I'll play the video, and then of course you can decide for yourself, but we'll have a bit of a chat about it.
They played the following clip.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell.
But Trump didn't, in fact, say this at all. The BBC spliced together two clips that took place 54 minutes apart. So let's go through it again.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you.
Now, see there, between Capitol and, that's a cut. Here's what Trump actually said.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
It's different. It wasn't until nearly an hour later that he then said the second part of the BBC's version.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we fight. We fight like hell.
Well, there you have it. I think it probably confirms what most of us already know, and one of the key reasons I keep bringing this up, not just the BBC's recent example, but a number of things around the mainstream media, is you have to be so careful about anything you see from them. And this is even before we get to discuss the likes of AI. But that particular editing by the BBC just highlights how they try to manipulate the truth and how they deliberately try to mislead you. And so I think it's always good to have a healthy degree of skepticism in life, is probably my key message. And I know you've heard me say it before, but if you're picking up the Herald or Stuff, or you're watching TV1 News, or of course the BBC, whatever, always be suspicious, a certain degree of suspicion. Because like that video shows, that was a blatant, deliberate falsification of what happened. In this case, relating to Trump, which probably comes back to their Trump derangement syndrome, anything they can do to attack him and make him look bad. And it's what begins to make, a lot of the narrative around January 6th quite messy and confusing, because the likes of the BBC and others are deliberately lying to you. Maybe that's the simplest thing I can say. They are deliberately, and I'm sad to say consistently, lying to you. The BBC, of course, only a few months ago was hauled over the coals, again rightly, because it had falsified a documentary about Gaza. Again, false reporting, false narratives, and so it's a growing problem, and hence this distrust. And we can always look back to certainly like the likes of COVID and how trust collapsed there, but there's something I would argue much bigger than simply those particular events. You have a media that believes, like the BBC, that they can manipulate what people say in order to promote their view and agenda, and it's absolutely terrible. As DD says, when they tell the truth, that's abnormal. Michael's right too. It's just appalling. I like Food Dogs Trucking. I swear too much, but I'll just say to Food Dogs Trucking, I like your acronym for the BBC. I think it makes sense. So Simply Greens, how long's this been happening? Well, you begin to actually have to ask. I think it's probably something more recent than not. I think there's this moral certainty has moved in, particularly those younger ones and those who have been captured by cultural Marxism, that they believe so sure of their own views, or surety of their own views, that they feel that actually they are right to be able to manipulate this, because Trump's a bad man, and therefore it is right and just for us to manipulate what he says to reinforce the fact that he's a bad man. I think that's really how their mindset goes. It's why whenever the left loses the election, they turn up on the streets, protest, as we've seen in America. They get violent, burn things down. It's such surety that they are right, and you need to look no further than the likes of the Greens here in New Zealand and the way that they act. And there's others are saying, and Robin's noting, they lie about Trump. Well, they do. Again, you don't have to like Trump. Some of you will, some won't. Some will have a more, nuanced view on these things. But again, these are deliberate lies. I'm going to play it again, actually, because I just think it just highlights to you the level of just inappropriate reporting. And again, for each and every one of us to be so aware of what we're seeing and to ask, are we being told the truth?
They played the following clip.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell.
But Trump didn't, in fact, say this at all. The BBC spliced together two clips that took place 54 minutes apart. So let's go through it again.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you.
Now, see there, between Capitol and, that's a cut. Here's what Trump actually said.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
It's different. It wasn't until nearly an hour later that he then said the second part of the BBC's version.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we fight. We fight like hell.
Anyway, I'll leave it there and not to try to belabor the point. I do see some questions coming through, or commentary saying, hey, look, the media have been misleading and manipulating for a while. Look, absolutely. I think, yes is the short answer to that. My sense is it's got worse more recently, or more deliberate. I think any group, doesn't matter if it's media, politicians, whatever, lobby groups, will always have our perspectives. We'll always be trying to, emphasize what we think. My feeling now, though, because I'm sure we can look back to many examples in the past. Gosh, was it 20 or so years ago? Remember that footage I think Time had of a federal officer arresting a child, and the photo just looked horrific of what was happening, but actually other photos showed a different context. It's the same as when, was it again, probably the same time, photos were coming out of a child supposedly being ripped away from their mother at the southern border, and again, the photo was deliberately cropped to try and emphasise that element without actually the wider context. So yes, we've always had, if you will, prejudices in media, same as in politics. My feeling now, though, is it's becoming more brazen. That's the word I'm aiming for, more brazen. And again, I just absolutely appalling from the BBC, but keep repeating myself, probably because I'm tired, is always be rightly sceptical. So I've mentioned, of course, we've got Helen Joyce. I'm going to wrap up here because I think either I need a cup of coffee or a chance just to sit and be. But yeah, check out RCR. But also go to our Family First YouTube channel or any of our pages and check out this conversation with Iain Corby. As you know, there's a lot of discussion at the moment around digital IDs. There's a lot of discussion around age verification, how much the government should or should not be involved, how do we protect our privacy. So I sat down with Iain. He is the head of what's called the Age Verification Providers Association. So he's someone who represents companies and little businesses that work in the age estimation and the age verification space. So obviously he's got a very particular view coming out of that, but I found it a really fascinating discussion to add more information in about what is happening in the space, what is possible, what are the privacy limits, how much does government need to be involved. So I found it really enlightening as I continue to ponder the question of digital IDs and under 16s accessing social media. His insight, absolutely fascinating. So I strongly recommend you go and listen to that podcast. And of course, get in touch and let us know what you think. Bob and I are on tonight at 5 o'clock, political playback. Hopefully I am more awake by then, which will be great. Remember too, Bob is always very busy doing his Mick blogs. They can be found on Substack, so look up substack.com and look up his name or look up Mick blog. And of course, I'm writing as well. I just dropped a new Substack yesterday saying, is whakapapa and citizenship the same? Because you'll note some people are saying that their descendants who have never lived in New Zealand should be able to claim citizenship based on their whakapapa. So I addressed that. Anyway, I think interesting. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. I just hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. I'll see some of you at 5 o'clock tonight. Otherwise, I'll see you back here on Solid Ground next Tuesday.